In the 5th year of our union, Tiffany, the scholarship student whose education I had once funded, assumed the role of secretary to my husband, Ethan. By the 6th year, he purchased a villa for her dog, prompted by nothing more than a social media declaration from her. My dog is my baby, and whoever gives it a home will be its daddy. Scarcely 3 days passed before she shared another image. A man's and a woman's hands cradling a small, ghost-white Samoyed. The caption read, "Our little family of 3, the man's hand bore a wedding band, a match to my own." I offered a casual like to the post. It vanished almost instantly. Minutes later, my husband, who had not crossed our threshold in a fortnight, called, his voice a lash of fury. "What if I revoke your shares in the firm?" He seethed. "Must I remind you? Everyone has their strengths. Tiff manages the company far better than you ever could. Are you so idle that you resort to harassing her privately with venom?" Faint, delicate whimpers trembled in the background. Before I could form a defense, the line went dead. 30 minutes later, Tiffany posted again, this time, a photograph of the share transfer agreement, freshly torn from my name alongside it, a sneering proclamation. "If he loves me, he'll give me everything. If not, then the opposite." At the end, she even went out of her way to tag me. I scoffed, took a screenshot, and saved it as evidence. Just as I thought. Young and impulsive, she still doesn't understand that when it comes to profits, love is trivial. When suddenly called and yelled angrily at me, I was already contacting the best lawyer preparing to file for divorce. Just 2 weeks prior, Ethan had taken away my 20% controlling stake in the firm, using my illness as an excuse. He claimed it was so I could rest well and not worry about the firm. But then he turned around and bought a luxurious small villa for his secretary, Tiffany's dog. My debit card was with me and the transa alerts were sent to my phone, yet I was stunned for several seconds. He didn't bat an eye at the massive spending of tens of millions yet half a month ago, when I asked him for $5 million to buy a special medicine that could increase my chances of recovery. Ethan rejected it. Without a second thought, he looked troubled and said, "Grace, you know the firm has been struggling lately. If it weren't for large-scale layoffs, we'd probably be in a financial crisis. Under these circumstances, how could I get $5 million to buy you special medicine? Just bear with it a bit longer." With that, he picked up his jacket and left. He hadn't returned for half a month. From that day on, Secretary Tiffany's social media updates came 8 times a day, ceaselessly showing off her happiness. I emotionlessly scrolled through my phone, through social media posts. I saw Ethan appear at the edge of the frame, a relaxed, doting smile on his face. I could also see that Ethan had made a home in that villa. They went to IKEA together, buying a lot of furniture, bedding, and pillows. My heart gradually turned cold. A month ago, I developed a rare illness where any wound on my body would lead to uncontrollable bleeding. The doctor said this clotting disorder was a complication of the rare disease. If I bled too often, I would lose my memory, forgetting many things I didn't want to forget. So to minimize accidents, I deliberately kept myself cooped up at home. I even intentionally lied to Ethan, telling him my illness would likely leave me paralyzed and dependent on him for the rest of my life. I thought he would express with the same resolute face he had 6 years ago when we married, whether in poverty or wealth, in sickness or in health, I will protect you for life. But his expression was indifferent. He silently smoked one cigarette after another on the balcony. Finally, he only said, "Grace, I won't divorce you, but I need someone to accompany me for the rest of my life. And you and to have a child. You can't stop me from being with someone else." The someone else Ethan spoke of was his secretary, Tiffany. Tiffany was the scholarship student I had sponsored. For 5 years, she had always been very grateful to me, coming to visit me every holiday season, warmly calling me Miss Grace. After graduating from college, she couldn't find a job, so I pulled some strings with friends to find her a good one. When I offered it to her, Tiffany sweetly smiled and said, "No need, Miss Grace, I've already found a job. I'm Mr. Vance's secretary." Right in front of me, she affectionately linked her arm through Ethan's, smiling innocently. The smile slowly faded from my face. My gaze slowly shifted downwards, landing on the hand that was linked with my husband's arm. Ethan noticed something was off, gently pushed her away and explained to me, "Grace, Tiffany just graduated this year and doesn't know anything. She's still a kid, so don't take it to heart." But it was this kid who knew nothing who deliberately got Ethan drunk at the firm's annual party and took him to the Grand to get a room that night. I waited for him at home, Not sleeping, eh? Wink, but they spent the night together. In the hotel room the next morning, Tiffany called me Miss Grace, Mr. Vance. Got drunk last night, I took him to the Grand. Could you come pick him up? I took a taxi to pick him up, pushing open the hotel room door. I saw Ethan lying, shirtless on the bed, his neck covered. In Hickey's Tiffany feigned innocence. Miss Grace, Mr. Vance was drunk last night and mistook. It's all my fault. I don't blame him. I was enraged, raised my hand and slapped her, but rushed over and shielded her. Grace, what are you making such a fuss about? What happened last night was an accident. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Why hit Tiffany? She's just a secretary. But he didn't see it at all. The little secretary, shielded behind him, was secretly looking up and giving me a defiant smirk through her hands. I shook my head, trying to clear these jumbled memories from my mind. I continued to bury my head in my laptop, reviewing the evidence I had collected for the past 2 years. Ethan had spent money on designer bags, clothes, skincare products for Tiffany, and I had taken screenshots of all the transaction records as evidence. I had also wondered why Ethan didn't try to hide his relationship with Tiffany from me. Instead, he spent every single penny without fear of me seeing it. A few months ago, when I asked him about this, Ethan pondered for a moment, then said, with a serious expression, Tiff is so innocent. The first don't want her to be a mistress. She's my girlfriend. I suddenly laughed. I couldn't help but ask him, what about me then? After 6 years of marriage, what am I? Ethan always looked at me with an expression of great pity, so much pity that it bordered on merciless. Grace, you're sick after all. You can't spend the rest of your life with me. I know you love me, and you certainly don't want to see me grow old alone. You want to see someone love me, right? In that moment, I understood some men are simply heartless. Ever since Ethan bought a villa for Tiffany's dog, I made up my mind to divorce him. I transferred all the money and assets under my name, as much as possible, a portion to my mother and another to my best friend. Even if something happened to me, I hoped they would live better lives after organizing the divorce evidence. I drove to the firm. Olivia at the front desk saw me, raised her eyebrows in surprise, and smiled. Mrs. Vance, what brings you here? It's been a long time. Whenever firm faced problems, I would usually come to help strategize and get him through tough times. All the long time, employees at the firm knew that half the credit for Vance reaching its current scale belonged to me. I smiled. Where's Ethan? Olivia glanced inside, guilty. Her expression somewhat troubled. Mr. Vance should still be busy. I lifted my foot to enter, but Olivia hastily stopped me. Mrs. Vance, Mr. Vance has given instructions that no one is allowed inside. If you have anything urgent, perhaps you could tell me and I'll relay the message for you. I subtly twitched the corner of my mouth, pulling a divorce agreement from my bag. I'm here to divorce him. As soon as I spoke, the entire firm fell silent. Employees at their workstations looked over at me with shocked expressions, and many began whispering amongst themselves. Olivia at the front desk was so stunned her mouth hung open, taking advantage of her daze. I stepped past her and pushed open the door to Ethan's office. No, Olivia's voice came too late. The door was already open. Inside the office, Tiffany was sitting on Ethan's lap, his arm tightly wrapped around her waist, and the two were passionately kissing. Gasps could be heard from outside. The murmurs grew louder. No wonder Mrs. Vance wants a divorce. Mr. Vance is openly cheating in the office. I knew something was off about secretary a long time ago. She's a vixen who interferes in other people's families. Absolutely shameless. The people inside slowly turned around at the commotion. Seeing me at the door, Ethan's expression immediately turned grim. Grace, what are you doing at the firm? He coldly told the gawking employees to go back to work. Anyone else who wants to watch the show can go to finance and collect their pay, then get out. Everyone cautiously observed my expression. They thought I had come specifically to catch him cheating, or that a dramatic scene would unfold, but I no longer cared. I emotionlessly handed him the divorce agreement. I held. Ethan, take a look at the terms inside. Is there anything you want to add? Let's get divorced today. Ethan suddenly looked up, staring at me in shock. After a long moment of stunned silence, he let out a low chuckle. Grace, has your illness made your brain muddled? Do you even know what you're saying? You have a rare illness. Now, without me, let alone remarrying, even survival will be an issue. What's more, after divorcing me, you'll have nothing. Are you sure you want a divorce? I shook my head and scoffed. Ethan I advise you to read the terms. First, and there's a prenuptial agreement tucked under the divorce papers. You won't be saying that after. You've read it 6 years ago, when Ethan proposed on his knees. He voluntarily presented me with a prenuptial agreement. It explicitly stated his lifelong devotion to me. If he cheated or changed his mind, he would leave with nothing, leaving all assets to me. All these years I had stayed by his side, never abandoning him. I watched him go from a penniless junior employee to a successful entrepreneur, a big boss, worth hundreds of millions. It seemed he had long forgotten his initial promise. He had even completely put the prenuptial agreement out of his mind. Ethan's expression changed slightly when he heard me, and he indeed lowered his head to look. He roughly flipped through a few pages, his face turning ashen. Seeing he had read enough, I spoke in an unhurried tone. I've consulted with a lawyer. A prenuptial agreement holds the same legal validity. I'm here today for your signature, and while I'm at it to reclaim ownership of the firm. My words were resolute, but Ethan's face grew increasingly He gave me a deep look, then leaned in and chuckled. Grace, do you really think you can threaten me now? I just wrote that prenuptial agreement casually back. Then do you really think I'd just hand over such a huge firm to you? What a joke. Ethan sneered, then raised his hand and tore the prenuptial agreement into tiny pieces. I was furious, picked up the ashtray from the desk and threw it at him. Ethan, you're truly a monster. Ethan stood there looking at me with a scoundrel-like smile. When the ashtray flew at him, he didn't even try to dodge it. Hit him directly on the forehead, instantly creating a gash, and blood streamed down past his eye. Ethan, Tiffany, who had been eavesdropping at the door with a mug, saw Ethan's forehead split open and rushed at me recklessly. Grace, you shrew, how could you hit Ethan? How much pain must he be in with his forehead split open? Tiffany looked distressed and tried to step forward to comfort him, but Ethan stopped her. Tiffany glared at me resentfully. You shrew, aren't you just crazy for money? You're sick now and can't take care of Ethan for life. How dare you guilt trip him? Even if there's a divorce, you should be the one leaving with nothing as of seeking revenge for Ethan. Tiffany picked up the shattered mug pieces from the floor and lunged at me. I'm going to make you feel Ethan's pain too. The sharp pieces were about to touch my skin. I realized it was bad and hastily retreated, but unexpectedly Tiffany still threw them at me with force. She stumbled and almost fell, and the shattered mud pieces landed right on my calf, cutting through the skin, instantly drawing blood. My face went pale. I tried to cover the bleeding spot with my hand, but found that the blood flowed more and more, refusing to stop. I suddenly remembered what the doctor had told me. Under no circumstances can you have any wounds. One of the complications from your rare illness is a clotting disorder. If the bleeding doesn't stop, you could die. I frantically grabbed tissues from the desk, desperately pressing them to the wound on my calf, but in moments fresh blood quickly soaked the tissues. Crimson, sobbing softly, standing nearby, Tiffany dramatically cradled her fingers, deliberately squeezing out a few tears. Ethan, my hand is bleeding. What do I do? Ethan immediately looked distressed and scooped her up. Tiff, don't be scared. I'll take you to the hospital right away. As stepped past me, I struggled to grab his pant leg. Ethan, call an ambulance for me. If the bleeding doesn't stop, I'll die. Ethan paused, then to Ned back to look at me coldly. Grace, are you ever going to stop? It's just a small cut and a bit of blood. Do you really have to curse yourself to death at every little thing? Don't think I'll agree to divorce you just because you pull these stunts. Dream on. I watched sadly as he hastily departed. Tiffany was cradled in his arms before leaving the office. She didn't forget to give me a defiant look when picked up the shattered pieces. She got a small cut on her finger and he made a big fuss, carrying her off to the hospital. Meanwhile, I was nearly bleeding to death, yet completely ignored it. It truly validated that saying, when love dies, so does care. He wouldn't care even if I was at my last breath. In the end, Olivia at the front desk helped me call an ambulance. By the time the ambulance arrived, I had lost too much blood and passed out. These young female employees hadn't seen such a sight before. They were all pale with fright and followed me into the ambulance. I don't know how much time passed, but when I opened my eyes and woke up, I found Olivia sitting by my hospital bed. Her eyes red. Mrs. Vance, you're finally awake. My gaze fell on her tightly clutched phone, which showed over a dozen missed calls. The contact was saved as Mr. Vance. I curiously glanced at the for drip hanging by my hospital bed. It was a bag of bright red blood, and the bleeding From the wound on my calf had actually stopped. Mrs. Vance, the doctor said. You have a clotting disorder. You were unconscious for a day and a night. We took turns giving you blood transfusions, and that's how the bleeding slowly stopped. As she spoke, Olivia started crying again. I really didn't expect Mr. Vance to be so heartless. You were so seriously ill, and he didn't even come to see you. My mind was clouded for a moment. I thought for a long time about who Mr. Vance was, finally remembering she was talking about Ethan. The doctor hadn't lied with too much blood loss. I really would slow. Oh, why lose my memory? Forgetting people and events in my life little by little. If that's truly the case, then I need to act quickly and get the firm and all my assets back, since wouldn't agree to sign the divorce agreement or leave with nothing. I could only pursue legal action. Over the years, Ethan had spent a lot of our marital assets on Tiffany. I would reclaim all of it. Even if I donated it, I wouldn't let such an ingrate benefit from their betrayal. Just as I was contacting my lawyer, Olivia at the front desk suddenly ran over with her phone. Mrs. Vance, this is bad. What happened a few days ago has been spread online and people are cursing you now. I looked up on the website link. There was a short video filmed. It was precisely the scene where I went to the firm to confront Ethan and, in a fit of rage, threw an ashtray at him. The caption below said, "This woman is truly heartless. She's seriously ill. Her husband hasn't abandoned her yet. She's greedy and insatiable, not only wanting to divorce her husband, but also wanting him to leave with." The comment section below became even more outrageous. I know this woman. She used to be a teacher, then probably got blinded by obsession and decided to go into business. I heard she's incredibly manipulative. She'd stop at nothing to divorce her husband, even sending the scholarship student she sponsored to her husband's bed. This kind of woman is terrifying. Whoever marries her will have the worst luck. It was obvious someone had intentionally hired trolls to target me. I took screenshots of all these as well. Saving them, I sent a copy to my lawyer. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. On the third day, I urged Olivia at the front desk not to stay with me anymore and to go back and rest. She felt sorry for me, seeing I had no one to accompany me, but she didn't know I had long been used to it. I remembered 2 years ago on our wedding anniversary, I wore a dress Ethan had given me. I thought he would like it, but he glanced at it with distaste, then pushed me away. "Grace, do you think you're still a 20-some girl? Aren't you afraid of people laughing at you dressed like that? You're the CEO's wife. At least you should act like one. Don't dress ostentatiously all day. It makes me lose face." From then on, I consciously stayed away from public view. When the media interviewed Ethan, I would always keep my distance. At first, he would tell reporters that he and I started the firm from scratch together, but gradually it became his achievement alone. I also recalled the days when Ethan had just bought the villa for Tiffany's dog. I couldn't help but call him before I could even speak. Ethan yelled angrily, questioning me. "Grace, are you trying to get back that 20% stake in the firm again? Didn't I tell you already? Since you're sick now and in poor health, you should stay home and recover. You don't need to worry about the firm anymore. Besides, everyone has their area of expertise. Tiff, holding the shares, is professional and can help me handle work issues. Don't try to get the shares back." Every time I thought of this, I felt he was cold-hearted and callous. Back when he and I started the business together, when the firm faced difficulties and he was dead drunk, feeling like he couldn't handle it, it was I who went to one reception after another, drinking glass after glass, and secured opportunities at the negotiation table. When we overcame the difficulties and the firm could finally rise again, he excitedly held me in his arms, his eyes red, and promised me, "Wife, I will never let you suffer such grievances again. I'll make you an enviable CEO's wife, and I'll make you happy, having everything you wish for." But now I can't even get a divorce. Still, I tried hard to recall these memories of being with Ethan. If I didn't think about them now, I might completely forget them. After a while, I was lying alone in the hospital room, feeling drowsy and almost falling asleep, when someone pushed open the door in the dimly lit hospital room. A familiar figure walked in. His name was on the tip of my tongue, but I stared at his face, unable to say his name, until sat beside me and spoke softly. "Grace, I didn't come to see you these past few days because I wanted to properly punish you, constantly bringing up divorce. It seems I've really spoiled you since you're always preoccupied with the firm's matters. I discussed it with Tiff today, and I'll return that 20% stake in The firm to you from now on, you'll each live your own lives. You're not allowed to bother her anymore, nor are you allowed to bring up divorce. I stared at Ethan's faint, calm expression. At that moment I couldn't help but laugh. How could I not know what he was plotting? But it was a pity even after 6 years of marriage he still didn't understand me. Ethan, I believe I've made myself quite clear. I'm not here for that 20% stake in the firm. I want the entire firm back. Ethan, you cheated. You need to leave with nothing. That was your promise back then. Why are you so determined to divorce? Ethan's brows furrowed. After leaving me, will you still be able to live as well as you do now? My desolate laugh was lost in the darkness. The in my heart had long become barely recognizable. He was now convinced that I wouldn't dare to divorce, couldn't divorce, and even shouldn't divorce. He thought I was a clinging vine dependent on him, and couldn't survive without him. What a joke. I wasn't even afraid of death. Would I really continue to swallow my pride and live just for a bit of comfortable life? Divorce, there's no other option. Ethan, you and I both know our relationship is completely broken. Reaching this point is entirely your own choice. After saying this, I closed my eyes. Ethan probably saw that I was impervious to reason, stubborn, and unyielding. He silently stared at me for a long while. Finally, he left without a word. The day I was discharged from the hospital, I called my lawyer and arranged to meet him at a coffee shop. But before I even left the hospital, a swarm of media reporters rushed over and surrounded me. Mrs. Vance, there have been rumors recently about marital problems between you and Mr. Vance. Is that true? Some say you're stopping at nothing to divorce Mr. Vance and make him leave with nothing. Is that true? You heartlessly allowed the scholarship student you sponsored to get into your husband's bed. Doesn't that disgust you? One after another was thrust in front of me. I suddenly felt a wave of dizziness. Please move. I tried to push the reporters away, but they pressed closer and closer, leaving me no way out. I don't know who suddenly pushed me down. My hands and knees hit the ground, and blood immediately gushed out. The dizzy sensation grew stronger. I felt hot streams continuously gushing from my palms and knees. Gasps of alarm echoed around me. Blood, so much blood. My eyes were filled with blood. My entire body was soaked in blood as if I were submerged in it. Darius, chaotic and panicked sounds erupted. Some yelled for an ambulance, others busily tried to disperse the crowd, yet I was unusually calm, thinking it would be fine to just die like this. I only had one regret, not being able to divorce Ethan and thus not being able to be a free spirit even after death. Suddenly, the dense crowd was pushed aside. Someone ran towards me like a madman. Grace, a nearly hoarse voice almost ruptured my eardrums. I couldn't help but look up, wanting to see who was making such a loud, terrifying noise, but no matter how I tried to open my eyes, I couldn't see his face clearly. Ethan's face was panicked, and his breathing was rapid. How can there be so much blood? Grace, don't you dare fall asleep. Wake up. Someone was frantically kneading my face. I found it very annoying. I wanted to raise my hand and push that person away, but my arms had no str in and my palms felt sticky, so I couldn't lift them at all. Ethan picked me up like a madman and ran towards the hospital. Grace, just hold on a little longer. Hold on, we're almost at the hospital. I fell asleep again. I had a very long dream. I dreamed that when I was young, someone bought 999 roses and waited at my doorstep for 3 days and 3 nights. My parents disliked him because he was a poor boy and wouldn't let me marry him, but I was convinced he would be good to me for my entire life. Later, I dreamed of our wedding. Not many friends or relatives attended the wedding, but we were still very happy, looking at each other as if we owned the world. Then the scene shifted to after we were married. I had continuously sponsored a scholarship student through college. What was that scholarship student's name again? I forgot. She was a pretty good girl, grateful, and would visit me at my home every holiday season. But then wait, what happened after that? I thought I wouldn't wake up this time, but 3 days later I opened my eyes again in the hospital. Looking at the unfamiliar surroundings, I held my head and thought for a while, but couldn't remember who I was. Where am I? Hearing the movement, the man beside me jolted up and quickly rushed to my hospital bed. Grace, you're awake? I'm sorry, I didn't know you. He rushed over, trying to hold my hand, but I avoided him with a puzzled expression. Who are you? The moment I spoke, Ethan completely stiffened. He looked up at me in disbelief. You? What did you say? I became even more confused, frowning as I Asked him, I asked, who are you? What I was thinking inwardly was that this person was not only baffling, but also hard of hearing. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot, and he stood there staring at me blankly. Grace, I know you're angry with me, but please don't play tricks on me, okay? I know I've neglected you these past few days. If I hadn't seen the live media coverage, I wouldn't have known you. You lost so much blood, Grace. From now on, I'll be more mindful and come home to spend more time with you. I impatiently covered my ears, not wanting to hear a single word. Who is this person? I don't even know him, and he's so noisy around me, it's truly annoying. I looked around seeing this. Ethan immediately leaned in and asked, what are you looking for? I'll help you find it. Phone. After searching for a while, Ethan brought a phone and placed it in front of me. Grace, your phone. I happily grabbed it, skillfully unlocked the screen and dialed my best friend Chloe's number. Chloe, I think I've somehow been hospitalized. Can you come visit me? And there's a strange man next to me who keeps harassing me. Please come quickly and help me get rid of him. The more I spoke, the worse Ethan's expression became. Not long after Tiffany also arrived, she walked over and linked her arm through Ethan's. Miss Grace, I didn't know you had a clotting disorder. I shouldn't have been so impulsive with you that day. I'm sorry, but I was also doing it for Ethan. I cared about him so much that I lost control. Will you forgive me? Facing's eager gaze, I shook my head, my face filled with confusion. I don't know you. The two of them immediately exchanged bewildered glances. Ethan's eyes instantly re-ened. He suddenly lost control of his emotions, embracing me like a madman. Grace, if you want to play games, I can play along, but speak properly. Don't scare me. He scared me so much that I burst into tears. What are you doing? Chloe's voice echoed from the hallway. She rushed in and hugged me. Chloe checked the red marks on my wrist, became furious, and slapped. Ethan, you're an animal. You've ruined Grace to this extent, and you still won't let her go. What exactly do you want? Ethan looked up in shock. Grace is my wife. I love her so much. How could I harm her? Chloe smeared fiercely. She shielded me, then pulled a diagnosis report from her pocket. You still have the nerve to say Grace is your wife when she got a rare illness. Why didn't you say she was your wife when she needed companionship and help? Why didn't you say anything? Now that she's forgotten you, you're trying a desperate attempt to win her back. What kind of dramatic, pathetic show are you putting on? Ethan seemed unable to accept this fact. His face was ashen and his entire body trembled. What did you say? She forgot me. How is that possible? Chloe, frustrated beyond belief, gritted her teeth and slapped the diagnosis report onto his face. You have eyes. See for yourself. Ethan opened the diagnosis report with trembling hands. It detailed my condition. After reading it, he completely broke down. He kept repeating, how could this happen? How could this happen? Why didn't Grace tell me from the beginning? Ethan looked at me with an apologetic expression, wanting to come over and beg for my forgiveness, but I already resisted his approach. I just behind Chloe, asking her when I could be discharged from the hospital and when these two strangers could leave. Chloe sued me as if I were a child. Good girl, once you're fully recovered, we'll leave the hospital. Tiffany couldn't help but sneer at the sight. Ms. Grace, stop pretending. It looks very childish. Ethan, was she always this good at acting? Isn't she just resorting to such unscrupulous means to divorce you? Before she could finish speaking, Ethan slapped her viciously. Shut up. Ethan's face was ashen as he pointed to the door. You're not needed here. Get out. Ethan knelt by my hospital bed, saying many things to me, none of which I understood. Finally, he was like a defeated man. Chloe, why did she forget me but still remember you? Are you sure this isn't you two acting together? Chloe gave a cold laugh. You really do flatter yourself, don't you? Who do you think you are that the whole world needs to act in concert just to deceive you? Do you find this amusing? Ethan fell completely silent. I didn't like him being in the room, so Chloe chased him out, but refused to leave no matter what. He sat in the cold hallway, his face pale, tightly clutching the diagnosis report in his hand. That evening, Chloe brought me food, all my favorites. After we finished this meal, can I come play at your house? Okay, I remember you said we'd play this socializing game and you'd give me all the money once it was done, right? Chloe paused, then smiled with dawning realization. Okay, the doctor said my memory had stopped 6 years ago. Many things that happened in these past 6 years had been selectively forgotten. During dinner, Ethan prepared my plates and cutlery, poured water and gently reminded me, Grace, stop looking at your phone and eat obediently. I simply ignored him and laughed heartily while looking at my phone. I handed Ethan my phone with the social media post open, laughing until my stomach hurt. Look at this. Isn't this guy hilarious? He actually bought a villa for his secretor's dog. Haha. Ethan didn't laugh. Instead, his eyes were red as he stared at me, his brows furrowed. When told me this story, I realized there are truly such fools in the world. He neglects his own wife, yet he'd spend tens of millions to buy a villa for someone else's dog. Chloe even asked me what I thought. Does she even need to ask? It's a no-brainer. That man definitely wants to make his secretary his new wife. He doesn't want his old wife anymore. I sighed, shaking my head, and put my phone down. Just as I was about to eat, someone grabbed my arm tightly. Ethan was in tears, sobbing uncontrollably. No, Grace, that man still wants his wife. 16. No way. I slammed down my plates and cutlery, thinking he was wrong. Even a child knows that where a man's money goes, so does his heart, right? Even if that man's wife hadn't seen what happened between them, she'd have definitely figured out he'd fallen for someone else. If it were me, I wouldn't marry someone like that, even if you killed me. With that, I happily went back to eating, but the person beside me was rigid like a stone. The doctor said I had amnesia and couldn't remember many things. I often held my head and thought for a long time, but I didn't feel like anything was missing from my mind. Life still felt the same as before. After eating, I'd go play with Chloe, but unlike before, she was now working every day and much busier, and that strange man kept coming to see me every now and then. He'd tear up easily. He would also call my name, asking me to forgive him. One time I simply couldn't understand, so I turned to him and asked, "You keep asking me to forgive you, but can you at least tell me what you did to wrong me?" Ethan froze completely. He thought for a long time. Grace, my biggest mistake was pushing you aside, blinded by obsession and blind to reality. Now I've completely cut ties with Tiffany. I've already taken back that villa. Grace, I saw the diary you wrote on the nightstand at home, and I've also carefully read that divorce agreement. Except for the divorce, I'll agree to everything else. Okay, I don't even want the firm anymore. I'll give it to you too. I just beg you to get well soon, and please remember me, okay? I shook my head. He said too much, and it was all so confusing I couldn't remember any of it. 17. Ethan still insisted on bringing me back from Chloe's house. Grace is my wife after all, and we're not divorced. Yet it's just not appropriate for her to live at someone else's house. Chloe shielded me, asking me what I thought, and if I was willing to go with him. I quickly shook my head. No, I don't want to. I don't like this man. Ethan's face turned pale. He stared blankly at me, his eyes reining again. I disliked him even more. Later, Chloe helped me buy a bigger house, saying the money for it came from my ex-husband. He sold the firm, and he agreed to divorce me. I asked here why I had gone back to Tiffany again, or gone back to his secretary's dog. Chloe let out a small laugh, then her eyes reined. He died. He was distracted on his way back and got into a car accident. Before he died, he decided to donate his organs to you to help cure your rare disease. Grace, I heard that young secretary was pregnant with his child, but Ethan absolutely refused to acknowledge it. He said it was just a fling and you were his only wife. If you had known all this when you were lucid, would you have chosen to forgive him? Actually, when I recovered from the surgery, all my memories came back. I knew that during the time I had amnesia. After Ethan learned the truth, he had been constantly trying to make amends and beg for my forgiveness. I also knew he made a pregnant Tiffany get an abortion, completely cutting ties with her, and I knew he was truly remorseful, but I wouldn't forgive him because his regret and apologies couldn't undo the pain I had suffered. Thank you for watching today's story. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your opinions and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you